everyone, welcome to my channel. This is my first video, which is really exciting. One of my goals for the year was to start a booktube channel as well as being consistent on my other social medias. So I thought, what better way to introduce my reading style and the books that I like to read than doing the 25 books that I want to read in 2025. One of my main goals for the year was to minimise the amount of books on my physical TBR because I don't know what went on last year, but my book buying issue, she skyrocketed. So most of the books on this shelf are books I haven't read, which isn't great, and we need to sort that out. I feel like most of the books on my list are books that are on this shelf or a couple of anticipated reads that are coming out this year, and then a couple of Kindle books as well, because my Kindle library, she's also grown a lot. With the 99p Kindle deals, I feel like I went crazy on them, so I've got a lot of books to get through. So if you enjoy this kind of video or if you want to stay tuned, feel free to subscribe. It'd be great to have you here. And yeah, let's get into the video. The first book that I want to read isn't actually out yet. It comes out in March, but I kindly got sent a copy of this from Emmy. She kindly saw on my Instagram I put like some of the books that I was most excited for that are released this year, and she said she got sent 2 copies, so she kindly sent me over a copy, which is really kind, so thank you, Emmy. I'll leave her YouTube channel in the description below. Her book content is amazing, but yeah, she kindly sent me this. So this is Summer in the City by Alex Aster, or Aster, I'm not 100% sure. One thing you'll learn about me is just names, really bad at pronouncing them. I've heard this is like 2000s rom-com vibes, and I'm really excited to read it. The next book, I've had this on my shelf probably for about 2 years now, and that is Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. I've read Magnolia Parks, I've read the first book, and then I just never got around to picking up this book or any of the others. So I feel like I don't know if I need to reread Magnolia Parks and then go into this, or I can just go straight into it. Might need a refresh. But this was on my 24 in 2024 as well, and I didn't get around to it. So this year is the year I read this book and maybe the rest of the series, we'll see. Next is a thriller book. Now, my thriller shelf is probably the shelf with the most unread books on it. So I really want to try and get through as many of my thriller books as possible. This one I've had for ages. I've read a couple of his books, but this is The Locked Attic by B.P. Walter. I've had this probably for a year. I did start reading it. I took it to work and it was like my lunch break book, and then I just never got around to finishing it. It follows a mum and her son sadly passed away, but there's someone, she keeps seeing someone in her neighbour's attic, and I think, if I remember correctly, a bomb or something or some sort of disaster happens where they have to stay inside, and she goes over to the neighbour and she's basically trying to figure out what she can see in the attic. I think she thinks that it might be her son, but yeah, this is, I mean, look, it's tiny. How many pages is it? Just over 350 pages. The font, massive. I should whiz through this. I feel like it'll be a great filler book for all the fantasies that I want to get to this year. The next book is a book that literally blew up. Like, it got so much hype over, I feel like it was summertime last year. BookTok and Instagram absolutely love this book, and so that is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this. Love this cover. It is reversible dust jacket as well. But yeah, I feel like everyone knows what this book's about. It got so much hype, and hopefully I enjoy it. I feel like I will. I don't see why I won't, but we'll see. Okay, so the next book is a book that I feel like everyone's read, and because I started reading about 3 years ago, I wasn't in my like Divergent, my Hunger Games, my what other ones, like Maze Runner. I wasn't into that when it came out when I was a teenager. I didn't really read when I was a teenager, so I feel like I'm playing catch up. So the next book is The Hunger Games Mockingjay, and I read the first Hunger Games probably like September time, and like the font's tiny. I whizzed through it. It's really fast paced, it's really easy to read. Obviously it's a YA, so it's not anything too complicated, like there's no world building. It's great, it's dystopian, and I feel like I'm going to really enjoy it. I haven't watched the film for this, so I've only seen the first film. So everything that happens in this one and Catching Fire, I'm really excited to experience it with fresh eyes, not know what's going to happen. And yeah, really excited to read this. I feel like I'm saying I'm really excited to read this for all of them, and I'm really sorry if it's getting annoying, but I am really excited to read all of these books. Although now I've said that, I'm excited for this book, but I'm really, really nervous for it. And that is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J Maas. Firstly, she's chunky. She is chunky. I think she's just about under... Yeah, she's just under 1,000 pages. She is a chunky girl. I started this series back in November. I'm currently... Well, I need to read the tandem read. I started it at the start of the year, but I just wasn't in the fantasy mood, and the tandem read is really quite intimidating. So I've put that on pause, waiting for Onyx Storm to come out, and then I will continue the tandem read, and then we've got this chunk. Everyone I've seen that's read, well, every video I've seen of people reading this, they're crying, and I don't know if I'm mentally stable enough to burst into tears over a book, but nonetheless, I'm excited to see where the rest of this series goes. I wasn't really enjoying this series to begin with. Well, I enjoyed Throne of Glass. That was the first book I read, so I read Assassin's Blade third, and I wasn't really enjoying it until I got to Queen of Shadows, and that book made me fall in love with this series. So I am excited to see where it goes, to see how it all ends, how everything wraps up, to see why everyone cries. But yeah, really excited for this. Like I say for all of these books. One of the new releases that are coming out this year that I'm really, really, really looking forward to is Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli. Now, I read The Crimson Moth. When did I read that? I read that in like August. Loved it. Got me out of my book slump. I thought it was really fast paced. I've not really read witch versus witch hunter kind of situation, and the enemies to lovers, and it was so good. And I'm really excited to see how she wraps up this duology, how everything kind of plays out, because the ending of Crimson Moth, like, I am gagging for the next book. I can't wait. Whilst we're talking about new releases, another new release is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I am so excited for this. I'm currently re-listening to Iron Flame. I can't wait, I can't wait, I can't wait to be back with Xaden, although I can't wait back to be with Xaden, with Violet, with the dragons, just everything. I'm so, so, so excited. I will be there. I will be reading it. My phone will be on Do Not Disturb. I will not speak to a soul. And if I see a spoiler on BookTok or Instagram, I am going to cry. So please, can everyone just make a pact to not spoil this book? Because I'll be really upset. Another book on this list is a book I've actually read, but I feel like I need to reread it because it's the first book in a series, and it's a series I want to get through this year because they've been on my shelf for a while. And that is Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. I read this probably about a year ago. I can't really remember my thoughts on it. Obviously it's a YA. It was really easy to read. It's dystopian vibes. I need to reread it because I can't fully remember how it ended. And I need to know why everyone loves Warner. Because in this book, I did not love Warner. And I need to know what's going on there. Why do people love him so much? An author that I really want to experience their writing more is Stephen King. Now, I've read one of his books. I read Billy Summers, and I've got two on my shelf at the minute that I need to read that I've had for a while, and one of them is on this list, which is The Institute. When I read the blurb of this, all I could think was like Stranger Things, and I love Stranger Things, and this gives that kind of vibe. This follows a 12-year-old boy called Luke. He's got like an exceptional gift, and he gets abducted by a secret government like group, and basically where they end up is like there's kids with all sorts of like supernatural powers kind of thing, and he basically tries to escape is what I'm getting from the blurb. It sounds really fun, but I always find Stephen King books really daunting. The book I really want to get to this year, which isn't on this list, is Misery by Stephen King. My dad's read it and he really enjoyed it, but look at that, the font is tiny, but Stephen King's great. Billy Summers was a great book, and I feel like the way he writes is so different from any other authors I read. There's no one that does thriller books and that kind of genre like Stephen King. Another book I want to get to, which is on my Kindle, is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. I feel like this is a book, again, that last summer Everyone was reading, everyone was loving. Like, I've not seen a bad review on it, so it's a book I definitely want to get to. I've heard people compare it to Happy Place, which I read last year, and it was the first Emily Henry book I properly read, and I loved it. Like, something about Happy Place was just so, it felt very personal and I loved it. I've heard that The X-Files gets kind of compared to Happy Place, so I'm really excited to read it. I think I really enjoy it. Again, another nice, like, kind of summer read, or like a holiday read. But yeah, really excited for that one. Another thriller book on this list is The Family Upstairs by Lisa Jewell. Now, I've had this for a hot minute. Like, I feel like I'm saying that for all of these books, that I've had them for ages, but I truly have had this for a while. I don't know if you can see, but I've got a little collection of Lisa Jewell books, and I've read about half of them, and this is one I haven't read. I've got the second one as well, but I find them fast-paced, they're easy to read, her plot twists are always great. So I don't know why I've not reached for it. I feel like I've not really reached for thriller books for a while. Unless it's Freida McFadden. I love a Freida McFadden book. I'm always picking them up. Last year I started reading the Boys of Tommen series. I actually started listening to them as audiobooks. And I feel like it made the experience of the series so much better because obviously the narrators are Irish. And I just loved it. And one of my favourite characters is Gibbsy. He's so funny and he makes me laugh and he's just like a golden Labrador. And so the last book I need to get to is Taming Seven by Chloe Walsh, and I can't wait for this book. Although I've seen loads of people say they were disappointed by it. I love Shannon, I love all of them. I love all of the characters, but Gibbsy, there's just something about him. Oh, I love him and I can't wait to read this. I hope I do enjoy it. It's currently not an audiobook on BookBeat, so I'm gonna have to read it, which is fine because I can annotate it, and I really want to get to rereading the whole series and annotating them, tabbing them, highlighting them, because they need it, they deserve it. This is like my favourite series that I read last year, other than ACOTAR, but love these books. I put in a nice, light, easy read, and that is Done and Dusted by Lila Sage. This is short and sweet, which we love. It's a cowboy romance, which I got to experience for the first time last year with the Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. And I'm really excited. I've got it on my Kindle as well. Again, another book to take on holiday or to read in summer, or just a filler book. I love a romance. I love a cowboy. I'm gonna enjoy this. Book on my Kindle I want to get to is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I've heard nothing but good things about this. I feel like it's a gothic fantasy, which I read my first gothic fantasy last year, which was One Dark Window. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it, but it was great. It was great. This year I'm going to read it. It's on this list, so it's going to happen. Another Kindle book is Bear Town by Fredrik Backman. I've not read any of his books. Last year I saw a lot of people start reading his books. I've seen great reviews. I don't really know much about his book. Like, I don't really know much about Bear Town. It was just on my Kindle and I was like, I kind of should read it. So excited to enter my Fredrik Backman era, and we'll see how that goes. Back in the fantasy genre, we've got a Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I don't particularly know much about this book. One thing about me is I like to go into books blind. So majority of the time I don't fully read the blurb. Which I probably should do. I might avoid slumps more. This, I've seen someone read this and I think they really enjoyed it, and the second book comes out this year, which I have pre-ordered. I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at pre-ordering books or buying a whole series before I've read the first book. Maybe that's something I improve on this year. Maybe it's not. Maybe I have no control. But I've ordered the second book of this. But I really need to get to this one first. The next book on my list I have had, it must be 2.5 years. Like, I've had this for ages and I've been putting it off. And this is the year I finally read Tomorrow, Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It's gonna happen. It's got to happen. I need to read it. I don't really know why I've not read it. I just don't think the premise really interests me. I've heard it's about video games. I don't know, but we'll see. I might enjoy it. It might be one of those books that's been on my shelf and it might end up being a 5-star read and I'll be like, why haven't I read this sooner? Hopefully, but it needs to get off my TBR. Like, I need to have this read, and the cover's really pretty. Book on my Kindle that I have actually read. So we've got one of these books ticked off the list, and that's The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. Shall I give you a review? I feel like I may as well just give you a review whilst I'm here. I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. It's not my favourite Ashley Poston book. I feel like none of her books will compare to The 7 Year Slip. That is my favourite romance book. I feel like the way she does magical realism is just something else. Trigger warning, it covers grief and parent loss, but the way she wrote the grief was just, I've never personally experienced it. The way she wrote it was just so beautiful. I predicted kind of the ending. I kind of had an inkling from the beginning what was going to happen, but yeah, it was nice, and it's one of these ticked off the list. The next book that is on this list I'm currently reading actually, and it's The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. And I think I'm only on chapter 2. Like, I started reading it at about 10:30 last night, and I have no thoughts at the minute. It's one that's been on my list for a while. I think it's only like 350 pages. We'll see if I enjoy it. Currently reading it, have no thoughts at the minute. Back to the fantasy. Another book on my Kindle that I want to get to is The Book of Azriel by Amber V. Nicole. I don't really know much about this book either. I think I saw someone say it's got vampires in it. I'm not sure. I have had this for a while. It's on Kindle Unlimited, and we'll see if I like it. The last physical book that I've got on this list is Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I think the 3rd book in this series comes out this year. So I've got this one, and I've got, Wild Eyes? Is it Wild Eyes? I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. But really enjoyed Elsie Silver's Chestnut Spring series. I love the cover of this. I feel like this is my favourite cover in all of her books. Going in blind again. It's a common theme. I don't really know what most of these books are about, but I'm excited either way. The rest of these books are either books that are on my Kindle or are coming out this year. And the next one is God of Malice by Rena Kent. Now, I know this is a dark romance. I've not really read dark romance. I've read the Mindfuck series. That was my toe dip into dark romance. And I'm just gonna wing it. I mean, God of Malice was 99p on Kindle. So I bought it, treated myself. And another book that is coming out this year that I'm so excited for. I've really entered my Emily Henry era, and that is The Great Beautiful Life. I read Funny Story. Oh, what have I read? I've read Funny Story, Happy Place, and Book Lovers. Read those 3 and really enjoyed them all. I think my favourite's Happy Place, and then probably Funny Story. All her stories are so relatable, like I can see them happening, and I'm so excited that a couple of them are being brought to the big screen. Ah, so excited. But yeah, Great Beautiful Life, pre-ordered, it's coming, I'm ready, I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what this story's about. Another new release coming out this year is The Night and Moth by Rachel Gillig. As I said earlier, I've read One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns, so the Shepherd King duology. Really enjoyed it. It was my first kind of dipping the toe into gothic fantasy, and I really enjoyed her writing. So I also don't know what this book's about. I just pre-ordered it. I really need to start reading like synopsises, the blurbs. I need to start reading the blurbs. That was all the books on my 25 in 2025. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, or any of these on your radar for the year. So I feel like I've got so many 5-star reads in this list that are yet to be found. And I can't wait to read them all and see what they're all about, and potentially love them all. But thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for watching my first video. I'm not really sure when I'm going to be uploading. I'm yet to kind of figure that out. It's hopefully really exciting. But thank you, like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!